Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this new video from the Wrestling Analyst. Tonight, I'm analyzing the results of Survivor Series War Games. I was 3 out of 5 on my predictions. The only two I missed were the two War Game matches. So, here we go. So, right off the bat, Women's War Games match. Um, the heels were having the advantage to start. So it started with Bianca Belair and Dakota Kai, and then Io Sky, Asuka, Nikki Cross uh, entered in that order. When Nikki was called up to go in the cage, she brought in a lot of what I call toys in the ring, and things started to get a little bit more extreme in that match. Then Alexa Bliss enters, and then Nikki just climbs to the top of the cage, sits gleefully, and just looks on at all the action. And then after a while, she just dives off the top of the cage onto everyone. So that was a nice spot. Bailey enters next, brings in a couple of ladders, tables, and chairs in the cage. Mia Yim enters, brings trash can to the ring. So a lot of hardware in there, a lot of toys. Let's say it like that. And then Rhea Ripley enters last for Bailey and Damage Control's team. Asuka sprays Rhea with the mist, and Becky Lynch enters last in that match. And I really thought that, well, my prediction was that Bailey's team would win with Rhea Ripley pinning Bianca Belair to set up a feud between the two of them. I didn't take into account the fact that they would want to give Becky a big win on her comeback. Frankly, that result disappointed me a little bit, in the sense that I really thought they would use the War Games match to start new feuds. You can see one developing with Becky and Bailey, since Bailey was the one that injured Becky in the first place. And two, I really thought that they would put Rhea and Bianca in a feud. I'm not saying it won't happen. I hope it does. Rhea won a number one contenders match before her brain injury last summer. So, or last spring or so. It's around spring or summer. And that feud has to happen. Judgment Day right now is one of the best factions there is, and they need to have a title. They need to have a title. Any one of them, but they need to have a title. And the one that's most accessible right now is the Raw Women's Championship by Rhea Ripley. And that's the one who would make the most sense right now. So, but Becky Lynch winning the match with a leg drop from the top of the cage on Io and Dakota on the tables was, what a spot. And I called it. Io Sky making a moonsault. I was certain she would do something from the top of the cage. She did the moonsault, and she did it in NXT some years ago. So I really knew that she would pull off a stunt like that from the top of the cage. So that was match one, and I think, well, we got to see Becky and Bailey for sure. Uh, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Rhea going after Bianca Belair's title. And so that's about it for match one. I think that Bianca's team winning the match settles the feud between her and Bayley. That's settled right now. So on to match two. So just before the second match, we had a segment between Jay and Roman. Jay saying that Sammy cannot be trusted and asked what we're going to do about him. And Roman says to Jay, just be the right-hand man tonight. And he asks Paul Heyman to get Sammy. So Paul phones Sammy and basically tells him to come see Roman. So match number two, AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. Now this one, I expected a little bit more of this match. Maybe they're keeping that for WrestleMania. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe that feud between the OC and Judgment they could carry on until WrestleMania. It's going to be long. If they do that, sorry, it's going to take it's going to be a long feud if they do that. But there's so many possible matches in there, like Luke Gallows versus Damian Priest, Carl Anderson versus Dominic, Carl Anderson versus Finn Balor. If Rhea Ripley takes the title off Bianca Belair, you can have Mia Yim challenge Rhea Ripley for the title. So there's a whole lot of possibilities in there. You can have tag matches. You can have six-man matches. There's a whole lot of possibilities in there. Now, I don't think this will last until WrestleMania. It would be 5 months long, and that would be, 4 months if you take December, January, February. Yeah, that would be about 4 months. So I think that would make a feud a little bit too long. But coming back to the match, I expected a little bit more. It was a great match. But between two of the top performers in the world right now, even though they're in their 40s. I did wrestle in my 40s, but I was not half as good or maybe a quarter as good as those guys. I can admit I wasn't the best wrestler around. I was sound technically and things like that, but I'm not comparing myself to those guys. Never. So the OC and Priest and Dom fight all the way backstage, so that leaves, and the women were not there, so that leaves really the center stage for AJ versus Finn. And from that point, that match didn't disappoint me. Finn going for the style slash, AJ going for the 1916, a lot of reversals. It was, psychologically speaking, it was a great match. The way it was mounted, the way the storytelling was done, it was great on that aspect. AJ wins with the phenomenal forearm. I really thought Finn would have kicked out of it so that maybe AJ has to go with a combination of style slash and phenomenal forearm for the win. Maybe, like I said, maybe they're keeping that for later on, or maybe since Finn lost, they're going to pursue the feud, and maybe we're going to see a Judgment Day Demon Balor. I'm just speculating right now. So AJ wins the match, and like I said, it's the first big win for the OC against Judgment Day in this feud. And I don't think this feud is over, even though AJ said it has to end, and it will end at Survivor Series. We'll see tonight on Raw what it's going to be. So On to the third match. So match number 3, Ronda Rousey accompanied with Shayna Baszler against Shotzi for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Now in this match, look, there was no way I saw that Shotzi could win this match. She's not ready for championship right now, at least a singles championship, unless maybe, as I said in one of my women's state of women's wrestling video, that they make a mid card title for both brands, like a America's Championship. Not don't call them Intercontinental or U.S. Women's Champion. Give them original names like the America's title, like the Asia's title or Eurasia's title, whatever. Coming back to the match, Shotzi could put up a good fight, and I saw this match for Shotzi more like a test to see if she could make it as a main event player eventually in the future, or maybe even as a future champion, to see how she would fare against a fighter like Ronda Rousey. Now, I think that they want to establish Ronda as a dominating champion, and being with Shayna Baszler would make her almost invincible until maybe a big name comes back. You know, a 13-time champion, daughter of a 16-time champion. So I think they're building another clash between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. So Ronda wins, no surprise. Ronda wins with the armbar, but Shotzi did put up a good fight. She looked very good in this match, even taking care of Shayna at one point. So she was like fighting both of them at the same time. So she looked very good in this match. And I think that was the goal for Shotzi, to look very good in this match and establish herself as maybe a future star. So, but Ronda did win the match. Then we see the other segment involving Roman, and this time with Sami. Now, Roman asks Sami, did you talk to KO on Friday? And Sami says, yes, I did talk to KO. And then Roman asks him, why did you lie to Jay? And Sami says, well, he had a big match. I didn't want to put that on his plate, and he'd be distracted and everything. So I kept it to myself. And Roman later on says, well, just before the War Games match, says to Jay, I saw everything I needed to see. But that's was just to set up maybe the final singles match. Well, it was a 3-way for the U.S. Championship. So let's get to that one. So three-way dance, fatal triangular match. Call it what you want. Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins for the United States Championship. Now, in this match, I had 2 possible outcomes. I chose one for my predictions video, and I got right on the button, or almost. I said the 2 outcomes could be that Seth Rollins wins the match if WWE and Triple H wanted to keep a strong champion, a very strong champion, and one of the best champions they can have on the Raw brand, to have the top title on the brand. because with the unified title, you almost never see a world title on Raw anymore. So I had this thought that maybe Seth could keep the title to have a big champion or a good champion, one of the greatest of this era, as the main champion on Raw. The other outcome I had was that Austin Theory would come out with a title, pinning Lashley. Now, it didn't happen like that. Austin Theory pinned Seth, and it was a little bit unexpected because I think Seth losing the match makes him go down a little bit on his momentum, on his credibility for a future clash with Roman. So this result, I don't think will lead to Seth versus Roman right away. It could lead to Seth versus Roman at WrestleMania, though, because Seth could win the Royal Rumble. That could be one way to get Seth back in the title picture. Now, the match was great. Match was one of the best on the whole card. I would now the worst match. I don't like to say that, but the worst match on the card was Shotzi versus Ronda. And it was not a bad match. It's just that the other four were so good. So on this match, I had Theory winning because, like I said in my predictions video, he was the one who needed the title the most. With his new persona, with his new attitude, new focus, he needed that title win the most of the three, and I'm glad he had it. Now, what this means for Bobby Lashley, he didn't get pinned, so he could go right after Austin Theory for the title again. Seth getting pinned, he could also challenge Theory for the title, saying, hey, the only reason you beat me is because Bobby Lashley speared me while I had you in a suplex. Lashley speared me, and that's the only reason you beat me. It's not because of your moves, it's because of Lashley's spear that you beat me for the title. So this might not be over. That triangle there might not be over because both Seth and Bobby Lashley can make a claim to say, hey, you didn't beat me, or it wasn't you who beat me, even though you pinned me. It was Bobby Lashley's move that made you able to pin me. So that's not over yet. And I like the way that they made the finish, having Theory pin Seth on Lashley's finisher. So that can set up a whole plethora of things. So on now with the main event. So the men's War Games match. I expected a lot of this match, and to be frankly say, after the first four matches, I was feeling pretty good about myself with my predictions. I had 3 for 4. The only one I had wrong was the women's War Games match, which I thought Rhea would win over Bianca. That's not what happened. Happy with the outcome anyway. But I already talked about that. So let's get to the men's War Game match. So Jay and Butch start for their respective teams. The advantage was to the Brawling Brutes teams. So Ridge Holland gets in after. And then when the second member of the bloodline was called to go in the ring, Jimmy goes to get in the ring. Roman stops him and says, Sammy, you go. So it was like Sammy was really reluctant. Like, okay, what's happening there? Or you don't trust me, or, things like that. And by the way, that match, the storytelling of that match was so good. It was so damn good. I'll get to that as we go. So that's next. Drew McIntyre comes in, and during the match, Sammy saves Jay from big blows a couple of times. Jimmy gets in, gets a couple of tables in the cage, and you can see there's, even though that Sammy did help Jay, did prevent Jay from getting hurt a couple of times during the match, they still argue during the match, a dissension in the match and in the ranks, and Jimmy is like playing peacekeeper between the two of them. KO comes in, gets chairs in the ring. Solo Sikoa gets in next. Shaman gets in. Roman comes in last. That was expected. Now, there was, like I said, the storytelling of this match was so good, with Sammy kind of taking bullets or getting Jay out of the way of getting big shots, and Jay just wouldn't have any of it. He wouldn't trust Sammy at all. At one point, Jay catches Sammy with a super kick, an accidental super kick. So it was then KO gives a stunner to Roman. Everyone thought the match was over. Sammy prevents the referee from making the 3 count. And then that was almost the finish of it. Jay, I think it was Jay or Jimmy that went for the super kick on KO. KO blocks it. And then Sammy goes low with a low blow on KO. And then he seems to have second thoughts on what he did. Then he speaks to Roman saying, look, I'm going to show you I'm really loyal to you, or something like that. We couldn't hear what he said, but I'm paraphrasing, like saying Sammy was saying that I'm going to show you you can trust me. And he gives the Helluva kick to KO in the corner, and he just drops him on the mat, doesn't take the pin, and says to Jay, go ahead, do your thing, and win the match. Jay goes for the Uso splash, counts 1, 2, 3 for the win. And then after the match, you see Roman embrace Sammy. And when he turns around, faces Jay, and they both hug. They like a big, like boom, I'm happy. I finally think I can trust you. So now the thing is, can the bloodline be trusted with Sammy? Now that they've won War Games, do they have use for Sammy? So there's still unanswered questions, even if Sammy, after the press conference, said that I hope this removes any doubts that I'm with the bloodline and the bloodline has my back, and we all know it's coming. We all know it. So when is it coming? I don't know yet. I thought it would happen yesterday. Not yesterday, but Saturday. I really thought it would happen at Survivor Series. But it didn't happen. But like I said, the storytelling of this match was top notch. You may say it was not as good as a match as it could have been. It was a great match. But the storytelling in this match was awesome. So we'll see what's going to happen tonight at Raw. So I hope to see you again pretty soon. Have a nice evening.